Felix had been the one taking care of her all this while. This time, Isabel wanted to be there to take care of him. That was why she needed to eat well. Only then would she be able to appear before him in her best state. That's more like it. Don't worry. Your uncle and I will definitely find Felix, Sophie promised. She believed there was nothing they could not do when they teamed up. Okay. You should eat too, Sophie. Let's eat together. Okay. After breakfast, Isabel stared blankly at the sky outside the window. All she could do was pray that Felix was fine. I'll do anything as long as he's fine. Sophie, you don't have to stay here to keep me company. I know you and Uncle Tristan have many things to discuss. There was nothing Isabel could do when it came to searching for Felix, but she did not want to hold them back, either. Moreover, she was not really a smart person. The only thing she could do was leave it to Tristan and Sophie. Sophie patted her friend's hand to calm the latter. Relax. It'll be all right, she assured. She's still too nervous. We've already analyzed everything we needed to last night. There's nothing more we can do. We can only take action when we land. Okay. Isabel flashed Sophie a smile that looked more miserable than her crying. Sophie could only gently pat her friend's face. There. You don't have to force a smile. I understand what you're feeling now. Isabel leaned on Sophie's shoulder, not wanting to say a word. She felt awful, but it was not the right time to cry. Sophie stayed by Isabel's side until the plane landed at Fanda's airport. Isabel almost fell when she got to her feet to exit the plane. Thankfully, Sophie caught the latter in time. She's in a terrible state. Get yourself together. Felix is an incredible person. You've got to believe in him even if you don't believe in us, okay? It's not that I don't believe in you, Sophie. I'm just worried. After all, Fandar had become a lawless place. All kinds of people existed there. One could die there if they were not careful enough. Holding Isabel's hand, Sophie prompted. All right, let's go. We need to look for Bertram. They needed to look for Bertram because he was more familiar with the country. As soon as they got off the plane, they found Bertram's men already waiting for them. Hence, they got into the car and went straight to their base in Fandar. Isabel's stomach churned with anxiety when she saw what the place had become from all the explosions. The place was 10 times worse than she had expected. Refugees were everywhere, and no one knew when they would rebel. Even the other forces stared at them warily. Seeing that, Isabel pressed closer to Sophie's shoulder. Stop looking. This place is like that. Cruel things are happening every day in places you don't know of, said Sophie. Isabel had always been a sheltered princess. As she was someone who had never seen the cruel side of the world, she could experience what it meant to live by the law of the jungle there. Isabel shook her head. I'm fine. I'm all right, she said. So, this is how some people on Earth live. I, on the other hand, have been living a pampered life. What more can I ask for? Soon, the group arrived at their base at Fandar in the off-road vehicle. When Bertram heard about their arrival, he quickly stepped out to welcome them. You guys are here. I'm afraid our technicians are not skilled enough as we can't seem to locate Mr. Northley's whereabouts. They needed to identify their target's location in order to rescue him. The problem was that they had no idea where he was. I'll take a look. Sophie had confidence in her skills. Hence, she did not hesitate to take on the responsibility. All right. Please follow me, Ms. Tanner. With that, Bertram brought her to the technical department, where a few computers were set up. Several technicians could be seen making repeated yet unfruitful attempts. Since every computer was occupied there, Bertram ordered one of the technicians to stand up before saying, You can use this one, Ms. Tanner. Ever since the last incident, Bertram dared not underestimate her. Mr. Tristan's woman isn't that simple. Sophie simply took over the technician's job without so much as saying a word. Alas, no matter how hard she searched, Felix could not be tracked. Did you find Felix's phone? We did. but we still couldn't find him. The phone wasn't with him, so we couldn't lock onto his location. Bertram was truly in despair when they found Felix's phone. Are you unable to find him, Sophie? Isabel was on the verge of tears. How can this be? Sophie's amazing at this. If even she can't find him, does that mean Felix is? Since Felix doesn't have his phone with him, we can only look for him like we would search for a needle in a haystack. We'll need to look into the surveillance footage of the area where you found the phone. That was the only thing they could do at that moment. Okay. I've already asked some of my men to look into the footage. Great. Following that, Sophie swiftly hacked into Founder's network system and copied all the footage captured by the nearby surveillance cameras. Is there anything I can do? Sophie. I'd like to help, Isabel offered. She had come because she wanted to be of some help. Come here. You can check this footage. Watch them carefully and let me know if you see Felix. Sophie got to her feet and gave Isabel her seat. She'll overthink things if I don't let her do something. Okay. Leave it to me. I'll watch them thoroughly. At that, Isabel began watching the footage. As someone who was familiar with Felix, she would surely find him if he appeared in them. Be safe, Felix. Don't you dare leave me alone. In the meantime, Sophie asked another technician to give her his seat. The truth was, they did not need a person to look through all of the footage. A simple program could let them know whether Felix showed up in them. However, the results only disappointed Sophie. Getting to her feet, she suggested to Tristan. Come on. Let's go out. Tristan nodded to express his agreement. Looks like looking for Felix is going to be tough. Are you unable to find him, Ms. Tanner? Yep. Felix isn't in any of these footage. Why are you still making Ms. Isabel look at them then? It's to distract her. Otherwise, she'll start overthinking. Sophie had already examined the footage, yet Felix was nowhere to be found. It was as if he had vanished into thin air. What do we do now? He's been missing for 2 days. Could he? Bertram's voice trailed off when he saw the look on Tristan's face. I'm sorry, Mr. Tristan. It's my fault for not doing my job well to protect him. There's no point talking about that now. What matters is that we find him as soon as possible, Tristan snapped. To him, all that talk was meaningless at that moment. I've already considered every possible method, Mr. Tristan, but we still can't find him, said Bertram. I'm going out in a while. Do you want to come with me, Tristan? Sophie asked. Yes. He was going to follow her wherever she went. Even though she was a capable person, they were in Fandar, a place of chaos. If even someone like Felix could disappear there, there was no way Tristan could ever let Sophie roam the place on her own. Don't worry. We'll find him, Sophie comforted the man. He must be feeling awful. It's his good friend, after all. I know. Where are you going, Ms. Tanner? I'll drive you there, offered Bertram. Things were too messed up at the place. Moreover, Bertram was more familiar with the area since he had been living there for some time. It's okay. I need you to stay here to take care of Isabel for me. Don't let her run around wherever she wants, Sophie instructed. At that moment, Isabel was like a delicate little bunny. Danger would be upon her if she went out. All right. Don't worry, Ms. Tanner. I'll take good care of her, promised Bertram, nodding firmly. Soon, Sophie found a picture of Felix on her phone. She made a few copies of it and went out with Tristan. Where are we going? Asked Tristan. He had no clue where Sophie wanted to go. To find someone. Relax. I love you, so I won't sell you off, Sophie joked to lighten the mood. Okay. Tristan knew why she was doing what she was doing, but he could not dismiss the heavy feeling heart. In fact, he would not be able to relax as long as Felix was not found. When the car arrived at a remote area, Sophie made a call and waited in the car. In the meantime, she rolled down the car windows and watched the children outside. The fear of war was palpable in their eyes. No ordinary citizen in the world liked wars because the devastation they wrought was too great. More importantly, they were still children, and many had already died in such a high-tech war before they could even experience what it was like to grow up. Tristan, too, stared at the children outside. Kids born in this area are really pitiful. Not a single kid dared to approach the car. Maybe we can help them. Only when the horrible humans stopped wreaking havoc there would the children live to see the future. However, that could only be done after Felix was found. I'll be with you no matter what you want to do. Just don't abandon me. Indeed, he was willing to do anything for her. Right then, an old man in tattered clothes approached their car. When Sophie caught sight of the elderly man, she stepped out of the car and walked over to him. Ms. Tanner, is there something you need? The elderly man eyed her with immense respect. It's like this. I want you to help me find this man. Once you have news about him, I'll need you to send someone to report to us at this address. While saying that, Sophie handed the photograph to the elderly man. Accepting the photograph, Arthur Camage said, "All right, Ms. Tanner. Don't worry. We'll do our best to fulfill your request." The two conversed using the local language, which surprised Tristan. He had no idea Sophie was fluent in that language. Did she come to Fandar in the past? Thank you in advance, said Sophie. That was one of the ways to find someone in a poor and backward place. Arthur knew everyone from all over Fandar. He was like the leader of a gang from the past. Only when the elderly man walked away with the photograph did Sophie return to the car. What is it? Do you have questions? She asked Tristan upon seeing his confused face. How are you able to speak the language here? Did you come here before? He queried. Wasn't she always in Jipsdale and Horrington? I came here once in the past. Thus, Sophie briefly explained her time there, which was when she got to know Arthur. I see. Tristan did not press on, for he figured she did not have a good experience here. I've asked him to help us find Felix. He'll go to the base if he has any news. Okay. Looks like you're acquainted with many big shots, Sophie. You're so famous even in a place like Fandar. Tristan was impressed by his wife. It's nothing, really. The most powerful one I know by far is sitting right beside me, said Sophie with a chuckle. Come on. Let's go back. She was worried about Isabel being alone at the base. Upon arriving at the base, Sophie and Tristan saw an extremely disheveled-looking Winter outside. Despite Fandar being in such chaos, she still could not return to her home country. The moment she saw Tristan, she burst into tears. I'm sorry, Mr. Tristan. I know I was wrong. Please let me return to Jipsdale. It's too scary here. I don't want to die yet. Winter had tried calling Charles, but her brother did not answer. She could not help but wonder if she was truly such a disappointment to the family. A frown etched itself between Tristan's brows the moment he saw her. Why is she here? I'm begging you, Mr. Tristan. I won't show up in front of you ever again. Please let me go back. Winter truly regretted it. Life in Fandar was a living hell. She lived in fear every day, feeling as if she could die from a gunshot any time. Enough. Send her back already. Sophie did not like seeing people cry. Not to mention the woman crying was Charles's younger sister. Winter cast Sophie a conflicted gaze. This woman really has a huge influence on Mr. Tristan. All this time, I thought he was just toying with her. Turns out he's sincere about the relationship. Shouldn't you be thanking Ms. Tanner? Where are your manners? Tristan could not say no when Sophie had already spoken up. However, his words put Winter in a dilemma. After all, Winter was asked to thank Sophie, the woman she had never liked. What's wrong? You don't want to? Sure. You can continue staying in Fandar, then. Tristan could not be bothered to waste another second on an unreasonable woman. Thank you, Ms. Tanner, Winter forced out. Sophie did not so much as glance at Winter. The only reason she asked Tristan to send Winter back was that the latter had a great brother. In other words, Sophie was doing it for Charles's sake. Let's go in. Tristan wrapped an arm around Sophie's shoulder without sparing Winter another glance. Meanwhile, the latter entered the base hurriedly. The refugees out there were too scary. Winter did not want to stay out there a second longer. As soon as Sophie entered the base, she saw Bertram discussing something with his subordinates. His eyes lit up at the sight of the couple as if he had seen his savior. Bertram and his men were at a loss for what to do. What's wrong? Did something happen? Sophie had never seen that look on Bertram's face before. I think Ms. Lombard isn't used to the food here. She refuses to eat anything. All she does is watch the surveillance footage. Bertram was aware of Isabel's relationship with Felix. Thus, he understood what she was going through when he saw her in such a state. Okay, I'll check on her. While Sophie went into the technical department, Tristan stayed outside. Bertram, get someone to send Ms. Quigley back. Tristan ordered. Bertram naturally recognized Winter. He just never expected such a high and mighty woman to end up in such an embarrassing state. After all, she had always been Walter's favorite daughter. It was just a shame that she didn't have the best taste and insisted on liking Tristan. Doesn't she realize who he is? He's not someone she can play tricks on. Winter called out to Tristan as she watched him leave. Tristan, have you really never liked me a single bit? She had been so fixated on him all this while, but in the end, was this love only one-sided? The woman thought he would at least answer her. Yet, he didn't even look back. Tears spilled down the sides of her eyes. It was then she knew he would never like her. It was also about time she put a stop to this one-sided love. Seeing that she was Charles's sister, Bertram gave her 2 pieces of tissue. Don't cry, Ms. Quigley. I'll arrange to have someone pick you up. There are plenty of other guys a woman like you can choose from, so don't be upset. He didn't really know how to console someone, but he tried his best after seeing the way she was sobbing her heart out. Am I that terrible of a woman, Bertram? Why won't he ever acknowledge me? What makes Sophie better than me? Bertram paused. Should I be honest? But she's already so upset. She'll flood the entire place if I tell her the truth. You're amazing, Ms. Quigley. It's just that Mr. Tristan isn't into you. That's why he doesn't realize how good you are. All right. I have other things to take care of, so I'll get someone to take you to the airport. He couldn't afford to waste any more time on her. With that, he quickly called for someone. She's the 3rd daughter of the Quigley family. Take her to the airport. I've already arranged her flight so she can head straight back to Jipsdale. Fandar was far too dangerous now. After Winter had left, Bertram immediately gave Charles a call. Hello, Mr. Quigley. Your sister's flight has been taken care of. Do keep a lookout on your end. Thanks, Bertram. I'll buy you a meal when you come back. Charles was certainly worried about his sister, but he hadn't had the time to get someone to bring her back as Felix's fate remained unknown. I don't deserve the credit. Mr. Tristan helped her because of Ms. Tanner. It wasn't as though they didn't know what Tristan was like. He never would have bothered with Winter if it weren't for Sophie. I know. Sophie was always this magnanimous. She never wanted to make Winter's life hard. It was the latter who didn't know her place and kept trying to make Tristan recognize her existence. All right, I'll talk to you later. Things are really busy here. They had to deal with so many other forces while also looking for Felix, who remained missing. Is there still no news on Felix? Charles's expression looked particularly grim. The men had been friends since young, but now, no one knew what had happened to Felix. Charles and Sean couldn't head over personally as they were caught up with all the affairs in Jipsdale, but they were still extremely worried. Not yet. The longer this goes on, the lower our chances of saving him. Most importantly, they didn't even know if Felix was still alive. That was the most concerning part. I understand, Bertram. Give it your all and save him. Don't worry, Mr. Quigley. We're all trying our best. Mr. Tristan and Ms. Tanner are here too. With them around, you can rest easy. Anyway, I have to get back to work, so I'll talk to you next time. It had been a few days since Bertram last slept. He just didn't have the time to rest. After hanging up, Charles immediately had someone check the flight details that Bertram had sent and arranged for them to wait on Winter. Walter was relieved to learn that his daughter was returning. He had been on edge ever since he heard about what had happened at Fandar. Meanwhile, Sophie walked in to see Isabel still watching those videos. The latter had spent so long staring at the computer screen that her eyes had turned red and dry. However, she didn't mind as long as she could find Felix. Sophie couldn't help but sigh. Seeing Isabel in such an awful state made her feel sorry for the former. You should get some rest. Your eyes won't be able to take it if you keep this up. You don't have to worry about me, Sophie. I'm fine. This is the only thing I can do, so I want to do it well. She knew how busy everyone else was, so she refused to sit back and do nothing. Well, at least eat something. Felix would be so worried if he found out that you haven't rested. Would he even find out? It's been so long, but we still haven't gotten any news on him. Is he? Isabel dared not finish her sentence, but her tears wouldn't stop flowing. She hastily rubbed her eyes with the back of her hands. Then, she forced a smile and put up a brave front. Yet, that only made her look more pitiful. I know you're sad, Isabel, but no news is good news, right? Besides, Felix is a really tough guy. He'll be just fine. At this point, they could only trust Felix. Isabel nodded. I know how capable he is. I believe in him too. He'll definitely come back safe and sound. She didn't want to waste everyone's time or affect their mood. Have some food. We'll all do our best. The more time went by, the lower Felix's chances of survival. Even so, giving their best efforts was all they could do now. After comforting Isabel and getting her to eat, Sophie and Tristan headed out. They had yet to have their lunch. Hello, Mr. Tristan. Ms. Quigley has boarded the plane. Bertram reported. Got it. Get some rest, Bertram. Judging from those dark circles, Sophie knew the man hadn't slept for a long time. I'm fine, Ms. Tanner. I can keep going. There was no way Bertram could rest now. No, you should rest and recover. We'll have a lot more work to do when the time comes. After confirming Felix's whereabouts, they would still have to rescue him. Go, Tristan added. Now that the man himself had given the order, Bertram obliged and took a nap. He, too, knew that a tough battle awaited them. He didn't fear the battle itself. He was only worried about Felix's well-being. How are we going to make it up to the Northley family if anything happens to him? After all, he was with us. Sophie only had a little to eat. She wasn't too fond of the food here, but it wasn't as though she could call a Chilean chef over during such dangerous times. Are you full? Seeing that she didn't eat much, Tristan gazed at her in concern. I know everyone's anxious, but you should still take good care of yourself no matter what. Yeah, I know. We should be receiving some news soon enough. With Arthur's help, they could surely locate Felix. Meanwhile, Arthur gave the photo to his subordinates and instructed them to contact the others. Sure enough, it did not take long before there was news on the matter. Mr. Camage, that person was taken away by Carl from Anglander. You know what he's like. If he discovers that we're the ones who leaked the news, our lives in Fandar are already hard enough as it is. If that happens, I'm afraid things will only get worse. Carl is ruthless. More importantly, he possesses an incredible array of weaponry. It's so powerful to the point that he's practically invincible. Arthur lit a cigarette. That's enough. Ms. Tanner requested my assistance, so I'll definitely help her, even if it means death. Are you sure Carl has that person? Carl goes around breaking the law and committing crimes in Fandar. If we succeed in taking him down, the people of Fandar can also finally lead peaceful lives. I was only cautioning you, Mr. Camage. However, no matter your decision, I'll surely support you. Okay. I'm going to look for Ms. Tanner. Arthur rose to his feet and headed directly to the base camp where Sophie was. A bodyguard stopped him the moment he arrived. This time, Tristan and the others had brought many bodyguards with them. I'm here to see Ms. Tanner, he said calmly. The bodyguard glanced at him, thinking that Sophie must have been the one who told Arthur about her whereabouts since he knew she was there. The bodyguard let him through. When Sophie saw Arthur had arrived, she got up from her chair and greeted him. How are things, Mr. Camage? She asked. With his capabilities, there won't be any problems as long as his subordinates have seen Felix. Carl has him. Ms. Tanner. However, you should also know that he's Englander's largest arms dealer. Hence, he has many high-tech weapons in his possession, Arthur replied. Although we know where that person is, it's hard to say whether it's possible to rescue him. Carl. Tristan echoed. I haven't heard much about this guy before since Bertram is the one who usually handles everything on this end. Bertram immediately brought over a tablet and pulled up information on Carl. This guy is ruthless. No matter what he does, he always acts unscrupulously. To him, it's all about the money. Thank you, Mr. Camage. I'll treat you to a meal when I'm free. Sophie could not help feeling grateful for Arthur's tremendous help. He shook his head. Feeling worried, he said, Ms. Tanner, Carl is truly a force to be reckoned with. Whatever action you decide to take, you must be careful. Also, you have to let me know if there's anything I can do to help. Don't worry, Mr. Camage. We'll take care of this Carl guy. I won't let him threaten your safety. She had also read the information on Carl. If he finds out Mr. Camage and his men were responsible for leaking this information to us, there's no way he'll spare them. Ms. Tanner, our lives and deaths on this earth are determined by our fates. You don't have to worry about me. You only need to take care of yourself. Okay. Let me walk you to the door, Sophie replied, personally seeing Arthur out. I'll be on my way now, Ms. Tanner. I know you're very busy. I'm serious, though. If you need anything, just let me know. I'll be there, he reminded. No one else knew Fandar better than he did. This is a fight between our forces. It has nothing to do with you, so you don't have to bother about it, came her reply. When the time comes, we can leave. However, Mr. Camage and the rest still have to continue living here. That's why I can't possibly allow him to get involved in this matter. Okay. Just be careful. Arthur still felt uneasy. After all, Carl was really powerful. After sending off Arthur, Sophie turned around and saw Tristan standing behind her. She walked over to him. What's the matter? At least we now know where Felix is. All we have to do is go and scout the situation, she said, fully trusting what Arthur had told them. Who knows what condition he's in now that he's in Carl's hands? Just thinking about all the ways Carl could torture Felix made Tristan feel a sense of suffocation. Let's wait until it gets dark. Then, we'll sneak in and have a look, Sophie said while holding his hand. Carl also had a military base there, which was where Felix was. I'm afraid it won't do Felix any good if we were to lead a group of us and barge in with much fanfare. We must slip quietly into the lion's den. That's the only way we can rescue him. He gave a murmur of agreement. It would be easier to sneak in when it was dark, but he did not want her to go. I can go alone. You should stay here and watch over Isabel. Don't let anything happen to her, he replied, thinking about how upset Isabel had been the past few days. Do you think that's really going to happen? With my skills, the chances of successfully getting Felix out are much higher if we go together. She was not about to let him take such a risk by himself. This is a rescue mission, not a suicide mission. I'll ask Bertram to go with me. Sophie stared at him wordlessly, not wanting to talk anymore. Are my skills not as good as Bertram's? Why won't he let me go? Tristan drew her into his arms. That Carl is quite powerful, so I don't want to put you in danger, he explained. Since she was a woman, He felt she should stay safely at the rear and leave things like charging into battle to the men. "I want to go with you," she insisted. "I'm going to say it just this once. If he refuses again, I'll really get mad." Planting a kiss on her forehead, he replied, "Trust me, okay? I promise I'll return safely. You should trust me once, too. I told you. I've decided to be with you, so no matter what happens in the future, we should face it together." Okay. In the end, Tristan was the one who relented as he understood her all too well. He knew if he did not bring her, she would still go on her own. After that, Sophie went looking for Isabel. Pulling Isabel up, she said, "You don't have to look anymore. We've already found a clue." Isabel was slightly taken aback. "Are you serious? Sophie, you're not lying to me, are you? You should know I'll be furious if you deceive me." To Isabel, Felix's situation was not a laughing matter at all. "I'm not lying to you. When have I ever lied to you?" Sophie responded while leading her out. "In that case, where is he now? Is he okay? Can I go to see him now?" That was what Isabel cared about the most at that moment. Nothing else mattered to her. "We know where he is, but you can't see him yet. We'll go and bring him back tonight." "Really?" Isabel asked, growing somewhat agitated. "Is he hurt?" She could not help wondering how Felix was after he had gone missing for so many days. "I really couldn't tell you. We'll have to wait until tonight to find out," Sophie replied. She could understand how Isabel was feeling. "I can't go with you, right?" Isabel knew that with her skills, she would only cause more inconvenience for them if she went. "That's right. As you know, your skills aren't good enough," Sophie replied bluntly without beating around the bush. "All right. Be careful, then. You and Uncle Tristan must be careful." Having seen how cruel the world could be, Isabel was genuinely worried about them. "Yeah. Please listen to me and remain here. Don't go wandering off, okay?" Sophie reminded Isabel in concern. She was worried that Isabel would disappear without anyone's knowing. "Don't worry. I won't stray away. I know how dangerous it is here." All of them intended to leave that place as soon as they had Felix. Isabel did not want to be there for even a moment longer than necessary. "Good. I'm relieved to hear that. You must be the first person Felix would want to see when he gets out," Sophie reassured her. "I've been so mean to him. Why would he still want to see me?" Isabel truly had treated him terribly. She had been much too proud and stubborn, which was why Felix had ended up in that place. "If I hadn't quarreled with Felix, he wouldn't be here, and all these things wouldn't have happened. You didn't do anything wrong. You are Isabel, the Isabel that he loves the most. How can she think so badly of herself just because of this incident? She did nothing wrong at all. After all lovers have their quarrels." Isabel threw herself into Sophie's arms. "Promise me that all of you will get back to me safely." Any place that she could not step foot in must be a dangerous place. "Yes, of course, we'll come back in one piece." Sophie gently wiped away Isabel's tears with her thumb. "Be strong. After going through all this, you have to become more mature." "Yes, I understand. It's true. I really should be stronger. I'm always relying on others to clean up my mess. I really should grow up and handle my own problems." Bertram was upset to find out that Tristan would not take him along with him. "Mr. Tristan, let me go with you. I've always been by your side. I know exactly what you need and when you need it. We're such a good team." Bertram was worried for Tristan. "Don't worry about it. Sophie will be with me. Your job is to stay here and keep an eye on Isabel." Watching over Isabel was no easy task either. "Mr. Tristan, can't the three of us go together? After all, one more person means one more pair of eyes. You have to wait for us outside. If there are too many of us, we risk being discovered, and it would certainly not end well." The two of them still had to locate Felix once they got in. Who would take care of the situation outside if there's no one competent waiting out here? Tristan knew he could rely on Bertram as the latter was incredibly capable. "Okay, I understand. I'll wait for you outside. I won't let you down. I'll do my best no matter what happens. Go find a Shanakan cook. Neither Sophie nor Isabel likes the local cuisine. Let's make sure they get a good dinner tonight." "Okay, I'll do as you say." Bertram really admired Sophie. As befitting a woman worthy of Tristan's affection, she was easily able to find Felix's whereabouts. That night, Sophie was pleasantly surprised to see the table full of Chilean dishes. She glanced gratefully at Tristan. "Even at a time and place like this, he still makes the effort to take care of me." Isabel, however, had lost her appetite. "What's wrong? Eat something. You've been looking thinner and thinner these few days. Felix will be upset when he sees you like this," Sophie coaxed Isabel, placing a bowl of soup in front of her. "Yeah." Although she now knew where Felix was, she was still in the dark about what had happened to him. Her heart would not settle down until he stood in front of her. Soon after dinner and before it got dark, Tristan and Sophie went to the armory to pick out their weapons. Bertram went along with them. His anxiety was written all over his face. Seeing him so jittery, Tristan said, "Don't come with us. Your nervousness is ruining my mood." Bertram was upset by Tristan's order. "Is it wrong of me to worry about them? That Carl is a dangerous man. Otherwise, he wouldn't have been able to abduct Mr. Northley so easily and without anyone even realizing it." The corners of Sophie's lips twitched involuntarily. She found Bertram's antics rather amusing. Sophie picked out a weapon and strapped it to her body. She was familiar with all the types of weapons in the armory, so she did not have to think too hard about her choice. Tristan, too, was the same. He had used all these weapons before. Besides, they would be infiltrating a military base. There would surely be weapons in there if they needed any more. "Is that enough?" Bertram could not help fussing. "Of course it's enough. How are we supposed to move stealthily if we're carrying too many weapons? We're going in there to rescue someone, not blow up the place." Okay. Bertram acceded, throwing up his hands in defeat. Isabel was waiting for them outside when they emerged from the armory. Her weak figure was a heartbreaking sight. "Okay, we're going now. Take care." Sophie wrapped Isabel in a farewell hug before walking away with Tristan by her side. Both of them were dressed inconspicuously in black to allow them to sneak around undetected. Despite the simple outfit, the two of them still carried a distinctive air. Be careful. They were the most important people in her life. She felt terrible that, at that moment, there was nothing she could do to help them. "We will." Tristan had always been a rather detached and emotionless person. He did not bother to say any words of comfort to Isabel. To him, such talk was pointless. Sophie and Tristan slid into the car that would bring them to Carl's military base. It was only a matter of time before they killed Carl. After all, he was just too evil and a plague upon the people of Fandar. "Don't worry. The two of them are invincible when they are together," Bertram said to lighten the mood when he noticed the forlorn expression on Isabel's face. Isabel nodded listlessly. "Bert, do you think Felix will be okay? It's been so many days. Can he hold on for so long? Of course, he'll be just fine. He's got such a beautiful woman here waiting for him. He must be holding on. I really hope so." Isabel's stomach was churning with anxiety, but there was nothing she could do except wait. In the deep of the night, two shadowy figures, one tall and one a little shorter, climbed over the wall and slipped into Carl's military base quickly and quietly. Before they scaled the wall, Sophie had already hacked into the surveillance system. She had her phone in her hand as she disabled the surveillance cameras wherever they went. Hence, she felt fearless even though they were in a heavily armed and guarded military base. There were sentries scattered all around the base. The two of them stayed nimble and vigilant. During the few seconds when the sentinels looked, the couple would steal past them. At that moment, The two of them were pressed up against a large tree when blinding floodlights flashed their direction. The duo froze in their position. "How are you? Tired?" Tristan whispered in her ear. They had not slowed down their pace ever since they snuck into the base. "Don't worry. I'm fine. Keep going. I'll keep up with you." She knew how strong Tristan was. If the two of them were to get into a fight, she was not certain she would be his match. "Let's go then." "Wait a minute. Since we've hacked into their system, let's try to find out where Felix is first." They could not keep going round. "Okay, you look for him while I keep watch." Sophie searched through the system thoroughly, leaving not a single stone unturned. Much to her dismay, there was still no trace of Felix. "There's nothing." Sophie shook her head, skeptical of the unfruitful search. Since Arthur had informed them that Felix was there, she was certain that Felix had to be there. However, they had not been successful in their attempts in finding Felix. Where could they have hidden him? "From the looks of it, we'll have to kidnap someone for an interrogation," Tristan stated. It seemed to be their only option at that moment. "Agreed. The patrolling troops should be here soon. Let's grab one of them to ask." "There's one problem, though. There are 5 people in one troop, so it'll be difficult to remain under the radar if we kidnap 5 people at once." "Let's just kill the other 4. Tristan suggested. "Otherwise, it'll be troublesome if someone were to find out." "All right." Sophie did not object. That was the most effective method to get things done. Any other way might lead to unnecessary complications. "Let's head over there." Sophie pointed at a corner a few meters away. "I've already disconnected the surveillance cameras there, and there aren't any sentinels. Plus, it's a blind spot. That'll make it easier for us to attack." "Okay, let's go." Tristan checked his surroundings before moving into position. The two of them moved quickly but stealthily to the spot Sophie had suggested. Hiding behind a bush, they waited for the next patrol troop to arrive. Fandar had always been known for its hot climate. The temperature that day was as high as 40 degrees Celsius, which was unfortunate for Sophie. She had never liked the heat. Not only did they have to move fast, but they had to hide against numerous skilled fighters. It was no surprise that they were drenched in their sweat. "Once we find Felix, we're telling him that he owes us a good meal," Tristan grumbled. The heat was unforgiving, but for Felix's sake, they pressed on. Hum. Sophie wiped a handful of sweat away from her face. She despised being covered in sweat, but she did not have much choice at the moment. They should be here in around 2 minutes. Fishing a handgun out of her pocket, Sophie then attached a silencer to the muzzle. "There shouldn't be any problem with this silencer, right?" The silencer belonged to Tristan. Sophie had yet to use it. Hence, she was unsure about the quality of the equipment. Nope. The silencer had been specially modified for improvements. Just then, a shootout seemed to have broken out outside the military base, which conveniently diverted the attention of their enemies. The two of them had found a perfect hiding spot. Soon, a patrol troop consisting of 5 people showed up, as they had predicted. "I'll take 3, you take 2. Remember, I'll keep one of them alive," Tristan instructed. Sophie bobbed her head in understanding. As he fell silent, Tristan raised his hand and began to signal. 3, 2, 1. In reality, Sophie had not seen his signal. Nonetheless, both of them fired at the exact same time. Not only so, but all of their shots went straight through the skulls of the guards. As discussed, Tristan left one of the men alive, with Sophie protecting his back. Tristan dragged the remaining guard to a dark corner. "Who are you? What do you want?" The guard who was held captive barked at them in panic. "If Carl finds out that you guys dare to break and enter, he'll never let you off the hook." Pulling out a dagger, Sophie pointed the sharp tip at the man's chest, right above his heart. "You are to answer whatever I ask you. Don't beat around the bush." "I don't like too much noise," Sophie stated icily. "Do you hear me?" As he met Sophie's gaze, the man could only nod his head in surrender. All of them were merely working for Carl for money. It was no surprise that the man would choose to protect himself in a life-or-death situation. You interrogate this guy. I'll take care of the 4 dead bodies. Still keeping a warning glare on the captive, Tristan gestured to Sophie. They had to get rid of the bodies quickly. Otherwise, they could get into huge trouble. Sophie nodded in response. Interrogating was her strong suit. As she kept a close eye on the captive, Sophie guessed that he knew he was on the losing end. After she was certain that the guard would not dare to try anything, Sophie took out her phone, opened the photo album, and showed him a photo of Felix. Have you seen this person? A glint of suspicion flickered across the captive's eyes. Are these 2 here to look for this person? However, upon remembering Carl's commands, he immediately shook his head. I've never seen him. Not once in my entire life. The man denied it. Thinking that Sophie was too intimidating, he did not dare to even look at her as he lied through his teeth. Are you sure? All right then. Guess you're not of much use to me. If that's the case, then I suppose I can only... Sophie stopped mid-sentence as she stabbed the tip of the dagger into the man's chest, right on top of where his heart should be. From the looks of it, you don't believe that I can kill you. As the blade pierced through his flesh, a sharp pain shot from his chest, causing the man to pale. If the dagger were to go any deeper, it would be his last night on Earth. I'll speak. I'll tell you everything. The man was terrified out of his wits. No one in their right mind would want to die. It was a much better option to remain alive. After all, there would only be hope if one was alive. Good. Sophie nodded approvingly. Do not try to lie. Otherwise, no matter which corner of this earth you hide in, I will find you, and I will tear you to shreds. The guard quickly nodded in response. He no longer dared to lie at that moment. All he wanted was to live a peaceful life. He could care less about who won and who lost in the end. After all, it had nothing to do with him. This guy was captured by none other than Carl himself. He's locked in the disciplinary hall. However, if you're trying to save him, it won't be an easy task. There are countless people guarding the disciplinary hall. Each one of them is a mercenary specially hired by Carl for a hefty amount. Usually, no one would dare to go there. All of the people locked there are big shots captured by Carl. Oh. The disciplinary hall, you say? Sophie narrowed her eyes. Carl sure is bold. By then, Tristan had gotten rid of the bodies and had returned. Got anything out of him? Hum. What do we do with this guy? Tristan asked. Letting him run free could backfire on them. With a heavy fist, Sophie punched the lights out of the man they held hostage before injecting him with a needle. I'm a woman of my word. Since I've promised not to kill him, I shall spare his life. Sophie looked down at the man at her feet. He would not be waking up until the next morning. Bending down, Tristan stripped off the man's clothes and handed them to Sophie. Put these on. It would be easier for you to move around in these. Since they have gotten a clue of Felix's location, they intended to head there immediately. Okay. In a few short minutes, Sophie put on the clothes that were once worn by the guard. There was a hole on the left side of the chest from the stab earlier, but it could not be seen from afar. He's in the disciplinary hall. Mercenaries are guarding that place, Sophie announced. The disciplinary hall? Sophie had hacked into the system and obtained the topographic map of the military base, so the two pored over it now. With mercenaries guarding the place, coupled with the fact that the place itself is an impregnable fortress, it would be impossible for us to break in by force, Sophie concluded upon analyzing the map. Let's go and take a look first, Tristan suggested. In his mind, the mercenaries were nothing compared to the two of them. Let's split up and divert their attention. When we passed by that place, I noticed there were a lot of explosives. I'll go there and set them off to focus our enemy's fire there while you go into the disciplinary hall to look for Felix, Sophie proposed. Splitting up seemed to be their only way forward. That won't do. I'll be worried if you go alone. Tristan objected. This is the best way for now. The situation will be worse if Carl brings his people here. Sophie figured it was the best possible method. Okay, be careful, and don't get hurt. Tristan wrapped his arms around her and kissed her forehead gently. Naturally, he knew how amazing she was, but regardless of her brilliance, she was still a 20-year-old woman, while the people there were extremely vicious. You be careful too, okay? She didn't want to see him get hurt. Will do. The two went in different directions. Tristan headed toward the disciplinary hall while Sophie returned to the bomb storage unit. As expected of Carl. There are so many bombs stored here. Sophie was quick, for she already had a walkthrough earlier. The position of each guard was noted and mapped out in her mind. With lithe movements, she weaved through the military base swiftly. Arriving at the bomb storage unit, she glimpsed at the map of the structure. Honestly, Carl is capable. Each of his designs here matches the base's requirement to a T. Similarly, guards stood watch by the building. Sophie found a corner to hide herself. Everything in here is bombs or explosives. One shot at the interior is all I need to blow this place up. Once she found a suitable location, she surveyed the surrounding area and discovered the best position. With a shot, one of the bombs erupted. Her location was far from the site, so the blast wave didn't impact her. The building's explosion had caused a loud blast. Meanwhile, Carl's eyelid twitched when he heard the loud explosion at the disciplinary hall. The goods at the bomb storage unit belonged to an Anglandran big shot. He shot to his feet. Come with me to see what's going on. He immediately led a few men and left the hall. The remaining mercenaries let their guard down the moment Carl stepped out. The bomb storage unit was far from the disciplinary hall, but the bright glow of the massive inferno could be seen. The entire military base was plunged into chaos. After Carl left, Tristan found an opportunity to slip into the hall. He was familiar with the placement of everything within it since he had already memorized the map. All the big shots were imprisoned at the disciplinary hall. Naturally, some of them recognized Tristan. When they caught sight of him, their eyes gleamed with hope. I'll give you everything you want if you get me out of here, Mr. Tristan. I can even gift you my turf. The prisoner was going mad from being held captive there by a psycho like Carl. Yeah. We'll return the favor if you can get us out of here. Tristan nodded. Sure, I can free you, but whether you can leave the base is up to you. We'll get more time to search for Felix if I set them free and let them go up against Carl. They are malicious felons, after all. Tristan aimed his gun at the shackles around the prisoner's ankles. The few of them instantly dashed out of their holding cell once freed. All they wanted was to leave that place. Anything else could be discussed at a later date. Once they left, Tristan went in search of Felix. After going through numerous places, he finally found the latter in a corner. Felix had already blacked out from the excessive torture. With one shot to the locking mechanism on the door, Tristan entered the small holding cell. Felix, can you hear me? Are you okay? He hurriedly helped Felix to sit up and noticed the wounds covering the latter's body. Seeing Felix's injuries, Tristan yearned to slaughter Carl right then and there. He promised silently he would pay Carl back for what he'd done after getting Felix out of there. Felix, wake up. A few minutes later, Felix finally regained consciousness. When he saw Tristan, his lips curved into a smile. What is happening? Am I hallucinating? Felix wanted to close his eyes again as fatigue lulled him to sleep. However, he fought the pull, knowing he couldn't fall asleep because he needed to return to his woman. At that moment, doubt seeped into his thought. Can I ever go back? I really don't know if I can make it back since that bastard Carl has tortured me to such a state. Don't sleep, Felix. I'll get you out of here. Isabel is still waiting for you at the base. Isabel is here too? How can my Isabel come to a place like this? This place is full of darkness. She's my angel, so she can't be here. Yeah, she's waiting for you at the base. She's very worried about you, so hang on. Okay, let's go. We're getting out of here. Tristan got Felix to hang on to his back. You should go, Mr. Tristan. You can't escape with me on your back. Carl shouldn't be underestimated. I didn't imagine I would fall into his hands. Tristan frowned disapprovingly. Shut up. I didn't think you would get yourself into such a state. Otherwise, I wouldn't have let you come here. I should have come here myself. This has nothing to do with you, Mr. Tristan. Go. Leave. Come and get me when you have more people with you. How is he going to deal with those men with me dragging him down? Don't worry, Felix. We can definitely get you out of here today, no matter what. At that moment, Sophie walked in with a submachine gun. Rest assured. I'm here. You're here too, Sophie. Felix wanted to laugh, but moving his facial muscle had tugged on the wound on his face, making him clench his jaw from the pain. Sophie took out a syringe and injected its content into Felix. The latter's pallor immediately improved. Let's go. Tristan had set the other prisoners free, and Sophie had dealt with the mercenaries standing guard outside. Their escape was smooth as Tristan cut through the building with Felix on his back. Sophie took out her phone and dialed Bertram's number. Bert, we found him. Come and get us. Destroy the military base while you're at it. Since they dare to hurt Felix, they'll pay for their actions. I won't be satisfied otherwise. All right, got it. I'll bring my men over. We'll make that bastard Carl pay for hurting one of our own. Sophie took the lead and avoided Carl's men. Carl's subordinates were occupied with catching the fleeing prisoners, thus their lack of time to pursue Sophie, Tristan, and Felix. In the meantime, Carl was still at the bomb storage unit with a nasty scowl as he studied the damage to his goods. What happened? Who did this? I'm going to kill that person. I'm not Carl if I don't wring the culprit's neck. His subordinates didn't dare to make a peep since anything they said would be wrong. Most importantly, they had no idea who was behind the explosion. Are every one of you trash? I paid so much money for you guys. Yet you can't even do something menial like this. Carl was furious. Regardless of how much he cussed and criticized his men, none of them uttered a single word. Then, another subordinate ran to him and reported, "This is bad. Someone had set the prisoners free at the disciplinary hall. The mercenaries you hired had all been eliminated." What? Carl's scowl deepened at the news. So the culprit blew up my bomb storage unit to rescue the prisoners in the disciplinary hall? Assemble a team to catch every one of them. Check all the surveillance cameras and find the person who did it. Carl's expression turned darker. I'll make sure the person behind this suffers for daring to cause havoc on my turf. Yes, sir. His subordinates hurriedly checked all the surveillance cameras footage, but realized the footage had been wiped out once they reached the surveillance room. Nothing was in the footage other than static. What are we going to do now? With Carl's brutality, we'll have it bad if he finds out. I can't do this. I'm leaving. I don't want to face that bastard Carl. All right, I'm leaving with you. The whole place is a mess anyway. Carl doesn't have time to find us. The men who went to check the surveillance cameras footage had fled the base. None of them wanted to be the subject of Carl's rage. They wanted to be alive and stay alive. Also, they didn't earn much during the term they worked for him. Carl was still waiting at the same spot, but no one came back to report. What's going on? I just sent them to check on the surveillance cameras footage. Why aren't they back yet? Carl personally went to the surveillance room to check, but didn't see anyone there. His men trailing him said nothing at the sight. I think they fled. Remember this, all of you. I despise betrayal the most. If you run, you better hide well, and don't let me find you or else. Carl's expression was malicious. His men urgently shook their heads. We won't ever betray you. Ever. Carl went to the disciplinary hall and confirmed the mercenaries he hired lay dead on the ground with a single bullet hole in their heads. He also noted none of his prisoners were in their cells. Anger poured through him at the sight. He took out his gun and fired a round randomly. Who was it? I'll make sure to kill that person. Carl suffered a heavy loss from that incident. The blow nearly pushed him to the brink of losing his mind. In the meantime, Sophie and the rest ran into a few of Carl's men, but none of them was her match. She easily dealt with them as Tristan carried Felix on his back. Bertram had already broken into the military base. The moment he saw Felix, he swiftly averted his gaze, unable to bear looking at Felix in such a state. Felix had always cared about his face, but it was beyond recognizable at that point. Let me carry him, Mr. Tristan. Bertram went up to Tristan. Tristan handed Felix over to Bertram and helped Sophie get rid of Carl's men. Let's head back first. Felix isn't doing so well. We can come back and deal with Carl once Felix's injuries are treated. Tristan knew Sophie wanted to kill Carl right then and there, but Felix was their priority. Okay. As medical personnel, Sophie understood treating Felix was their utmost priority. The minute they got into a car, she instantly took off the prisoner's clothing she had on. Carl's loss is substantial this time. He'll realize what's happening once he has time to think things through. I'm sure he won't let us go without a scratch, Sophie said. We must get rid of him before he can find us. I'm here, so don't worry. Carl is nothing. Does he really think Fandar is his turf? He's nothing but TR. They made their way back to base. Isabel had been waiting there all the while. Tears started streaming down her face when she noticed Felix's injuries. It's all my fault. He wouldn't have ended up like this if it wasn't for me. Sophie gently stroked Isabel's face when she noticed the guilt on the latter's face. It's okay. We got him back. He's fine. He just looks a little scary. Sophie consoled. Okay. Sophie and Tristan had been gone the whole night, so Isabel knew how tired they were. She chastised herself for having Sophie console her. Sophie examined Felix once they carried him into his room. Even though he looked terrible, most of his injuries were nothing more than superficial wounds. After cleaning up his wounds, she injected a sedative into his body. Minutes later, he fell asleep. How is he? Nothing serious. His injuries just look scary. Tristan sighed with relief at Sophie's assurance. That's good. Then Isabel walked into the room and sat beside Felix. She held onto his hand tightly. Sophie and Tristan got up and left the room to give them some space, knowing Isabel wanted to be by Felix's side. When Bertram spotted them coming out of Felix's room, he immediately went up to them. I guess Carl is probably losing his mind right now. What is our next step? Since the situation has already turned out this way, should we take over the hit on Carl? Let's go and get rid of Carl. Sophie was worried Carl would cause trouble for Arthur. Arthur and the others didn't have it easy, so she didn't want to rain any calamity upon them. Let's not rush and head there after breakfast. We didn't have time to rest for the whole night. Having breakfast won't cause much delay anyway. Also, Bertram already sent someone to keep an eye on him. He had made all the necessary arrangements knowing her fears and worries. Okay, I'll go and take a shower then. This is too uncomfortable. She didn't feel comfortable drenched in sweat. Go on. I'll keep an eye on Carl, Mr. Tristan. Bertram wasn't assured. Although they already had someone keeping watch, Carl was a maniac. Go ahead. We'll join you in a second. I'll take a shower and have breakfast. Once we deal with Carl, we can have a good rest. Sophie finally felt comfortable after finishing her shower and changing into a clean white t-shirt and a pair of low-rise skinny jeans. The attire was ordinary but attractive when she wore them, especially the area around her narrow waist. She only dried her hair with a towel. The weather was hot, and she wasn't going to bed anytime soon, so there was no need to blow-dry her hair with a hairdryer. Tristan saw how comely she looked the minute he stepped into the room. Let's go and have breakfast. Okay. The two went to the dining room for breakfast. When they didn't see Isabel, They knew she didn't have an appetite, but that didn't diminish their worry about her well-being. We should ask Isabel to have some. She needs to look after Felix. If she doesn't want to eat, that's fine. She'll eat once Felix wakes up anyway. After the two finished their breakfast, they went together to find Bertram. On the way, they encountered Arthur. Upon learning Sophie had rescued Felix, Arthur was happy for her. "Ms. Tanner, since you've saved the man you were looking for, you should return quickly. Fandar is really dangerous now." Arthur knew Sophie was capable, but she was still a girl no matter what, so she shouldn't experience those things. "Mr. Camage, you helped me, so I must get rid of Carl, otherwise, you won't have a peaceful life in the future." Sophie wasn't going to leave them with that trouble. "Ms. Tanner, you don't need to do these things for us. We have lived on this land for our entire lives, so we naturally have our own ways to survive. Even if Carl is gone, there will be others like him, isn't it? Ultimately, we still have to rely on ourselves, so she doesn't have to go to such lengths for us. Mr. Camage, you don't need to say more. I'm not doing this entirely for you. Carl harmed our man too, so we have to avenge him." She didn't want Arthur to bear the heavy psychological burden. "Ms. Tanner." Arthur knew she was actually doing that for them. "We can never repay your great kindness in this lifetime." Tears streamed down Arthur's face. Many people thought poorly of Fandar, but it was still their home, after all. They cherished everything there. "Mr. Camage, don't worry. In the future, the social order here will gradually improve. As long as there's someone capable to maintain control, this place will get better." "Okay, Ms. Tanner. Please be careful." Arthur watched them leave. Along the way, discomfort churned within Sophie as she took in the living condition of the people there. "It will get better," Tristan said. He decided they should maintain the order there since that was indeed a very profitable place anyway. They could make money and provide a relatively good living environment for the locals. That was the only thing they could do. "Yes." Sophie held his hand. "We aren't saviors, but we can do our best to improve the quality of life of these people." Sophie and Tristan found Bertram. They were outside Carl's military base while the guards had already gone in. "Mr. Tristan, the guards have entered. They will capture Carl." Since those mercenaries were dead, Carl couldn't possibly cause too much trouble. "All right. We can just wait here." Tristan had full confidence that the guards he trained could apprehend Carl. There was no need for them to take action personally. "Have some water." When they came out earlier, Tristan had brought along a thermos. He figured Sophie would feel better drinking water on such a hot day. Sophie shook her head. She didn't have the slightest urge to drink hot water when the weather was scorching. Instead, she wanted to have some nice, cold ice cream, but her period was approaching, so she couldn't eat ice cream at that time. "Mr. Tristan." "I'll go in and take a look," Bertram said. Tristan and Sophie didn't do anything in particular when they were together, but Bertram inexplicably felt like they were flaunting their relationship. "All right. Go ahead." Sophie sat inside the off-road vehicle. She didn't want to go out because the sun was blazing outside. In addition, she hadn't slept last night, so she was getting a little drowsy. "Take a nap if you're tired. I'll take care of matters here. We can go back together later." "Okay." Sophie shut her eyes to get some rest. At that moment, upon learning some outsiders had infiltrated his military base, Carl immediately took his weapon and came out. He wanted to put up a resistance, but the difference in strength between both parties was insurmountable. "Let's go. I'm abandoning this base," Carl said to his subordinates. At that instant, preserving his life took precedence, and everything else was irrelevant. "We can't escape anymore." His subordinates gazed at the guards surrounding them with pale faces. "Who are you? Do you know who's backing me? You better allow me to leave now, otherwise dash." One of the guards was getting impatient. "He's full of crap." The guard shot Carl in the thigh, causing the latter to kneel at once. Carl, who had always been a domineering and vicious figure in Fandar, had been reduced to that pathetic state. Take him away, the guard instructed his men. The others didn't dare to argue and knelt on the floor after seeing Carl captured. Please spare us. We're just trying to make a living by working for Carl. We really haven't done anything bad. Take all of them away. That decision wasn't the guards to make. They still had to get specific instructions from Tristan as to what to do next. Soon, everyone was taken outside. Carl's temples throbbed when he saw who was standing before him. He had never seen Tristan before, but had heard about the latter's ruthlessness. Mr. Tristan, I think there's some misunderstanding between us. It really must be a misunderstanding. Carl had to yield since Tristan had seized control of the circumstances. Misunderstanding? You captured my man, yet you tell me it's a misunderstanding? Carl, do you really take me as a fool? You held Felix captive, right? Tell me. Why did you detain him? Tristan asked sternly. There's no way he didn't know Felix was my subordinate. Mr. Tristan, I really didn't know. There aren't any grudges between us, right? Why would I detain your man? Carl couldn't even stand at that point and was forced to kneel on the ground. Ha! Is that so? Carl immediately nodded. That's enough. Stop wasting your breath talking to him. Just do away with him. I'm getting tired. Sophie, sitting in the passenger seat in silence the whole time, finally spoke. What's there to discuss with this Carl? We should just eliminate him and get this over with. Hearing that voice, Carl shifted his attention to the passenger seat. He had always been a lewd man and was fond of gorgeous women. However, he had never seen a Shanian woman as beautiful as Sophie. A leopard could never change its spots. As Carl riveted his lecherous gaze on Sophie, Tristan pulled out his gun and aimed the muzzle at Carl. Only then did Carl regain his senses. Mr. Tristan, how dare you look at my woman? Who gave you the courage to do this? You can say the previous matters were a misunderstanding, but this is clearly not one, right? With that, Tristan aimed at Carl's other leg and fired another shot. Carl's legs were both crippled now. That's enough, Mr. Tristan. Let Mr. Camage handle the rest. We'll let him decide how to deal. Carl had committed countless heinous acts on that piece of land. Hence, Arthur and the others should have the right to execute Carl. Okay. At the same time, Arthur received a message and came over. He found the sight of Carl on the unbelievable. Carl was a bloodthirsty man who had killed so many of their people, so he deserved the tragic end befell him at that moment. Mr. Camage, he can no longer retaliate now, so you can deal with him however you want. Sophie handed Carl over to Arthur. Thank you, Ms. Tanner. This guy committed an unforgivable crime. We must punish him according to our local laws, Arthur exclaimed agitatedly. Sure, I'll leave him to you. I'll leave 2 undercover guards here to assist you. She was still worried about leaving him with Arthur. After all, Carl was a cunning man. Thanks, Ms. Tanner. They would never forget the favor Sophie had done to them. After leaving the 2 undercover guards there, Tristan finally hopped into the car and headed back with the rest. Fandar was still chaotic and disorganized. Since he was already there, it was only right to restore some order in the area. They returned to their base, utterly exhausted from the long ordeal. It was time they got some well-deserved rest. Bertram, ask everyone to have a good rest. Once they're all refreshed, we'll sort out the chaos around here, Tristan instructed Bertram. Got it, Mr. Tristan. Tristan let everyone rest after lunch. Sophie was also feeling exhausted and sleepy by then. As soon as she got back, she took a quick shower. When she stepped out, she spotted Tristan waiting outside. What's wrong? Didn't we already rescue him? Why does he still look like that? She guessed. Did anything happen to Felix? Sophie was so tired that she had not checked on him. However, when she visited him the previous time, there was nothing wrong. Nothing. Just go to sleep. I'll take a shower too. Tristan was a bit annoyed, though it wasn't about anything serious. Okay, go shower. I'll check on Felix. Since everything was fine now, she wanted to visit Felix for a while before sleeping. Sophie arrived just when Felix woke up. Seeing him awake, Isabel found herself at a loss for words. "You actually came," exclaimed Felix in disbelief. "I thought you didn't want to see me ever again. I didn't expect you to visit me." He was genuinely shocked. To his greater surprise, Isabel cried even harder after he finished speaking. "What's wrong, Isabel? Please don't cry. It breaks my heart whenever I see you cry. I'm sorry, okay? Please stop crying." He was willing to do anything as long as she stopped crying. "I'm sorry, Felix. If I hadn't broken up with you, you wouldn't have come here. It's all my fault that you ended up in this situation. I'm sorry." She had been consumed by guilt since his accident. "Don't blame yourself. I came here on my own accord. Please, don't cry. My heart aches when I see you cry," comforted Felix, his voice laced with concern. Felix extended his hand and gently wiped her tears away. "You must be in a lot of pain, right?" asked Isabel, thinking that he looked like he was hurting greatly. "Yeah, it really hurts." Tears streamed down Isabel's cheeks again. She knew that it must have hurt. "But the pain disappeared the moment I saw you. Let's not break up, okay? I don't want to let you go." Felix pleaded pitifully. "Okay. We won't break up." She would not be so reckless in the future. From now on, she would cherish their time together and avoid any arguments. As Felix attempted to sit up, he accidentally pressed on his wound. "What are you doing? Don't move about recklessly." Although he was grimacing in pain, he still revealed a smile. "It's nothing. I just wanted to hug you, but I accidentally pulled on my injury." Isabel threw herself into his embrace and hugged him tightly. "You silly fool. Promise me that you'll never put yourself in such a perilous situation again. You have no idea how terrified I was." "I won't. I want nothing more than to be with you and have 3 children together," Felix exclaimed with a laugh. "You bastard. Who would want to have kids with you when you're like this?" exclaimed Isabel, caught between laughter and tears. Looking at her now, others might mistake her for a mad woman. It was at that moment that Felix finally noticed Sophie, who had been silently observing them. As she watched the scene unfold, all that was lacking was a bucket of popcorn. "Thank you for this, Sophie. Without both of you, I would have been done for. If it weren't for Sophie and Tristan, he would have surely met his demise." When Isabel turned around and saw Sophie looking at them, she felt a tinge of embarrassment. "What on earth am I doing? I was laughing and crying like that." Sophie walked over. "We're all friends, so why be so formal? Do you feel any discomfort? If you do, let me know." Sophie had come to ask about his recovery. "I'm fine. I just suffered some external wounds. They might look scary, but they'll heal in a few days." Although he had been injured before, it was quite embarrassing to be seen in such a state. "I'm glad to hear that you're fine. I'll leave both of you to your own devices. I'll get some rest now." Sophie was truly exhausted. She had been feeling sleepy even when watching the exciting scene earlier. "Go ahead." Isabel's mood had lifted significantly. She had been feeling extremely tensed earlier, but now she could finally let all those emotions go. "Come up here." Felix beckoned. "What are you going to do?" "Felix, look at what you've become. Why can't you just rest? What are you thinking?" "I just wanted you to rest here for a while since I can tell that you're tired. What can I possibly do in my current state?" "Oh." Only then did Isabel climb onto the bed and lay beside him. Just lying by his side was enough to make her feel at ease. As his gaze fell upon the woman by his side, Felix felt alive again. "Luckily, I managed to survive this. I even got my beloved girl back." When Sophie returned, Tristan had finished bathing and was making a phone call. "Don't worry, Dad. With me here, nothing will happen to Isabel." "Yes, I understand. Both Sophie and I are doing well, so you don't need to worry. What about Felix? Is he okay? What happened to him? He seems like a clever guy. How did he end up being kidnapped? Dad, we haven't slept for over 10 hours. We're tired. I'll answer your questions after I wake up, okay? If everything's fine, I'll hang up now. You little brat. I'm just worried about you guys. What's up with your attitude? Just call Isabel directly. She's completely unharmed. Also, tell Lincoln to stop calling me. After ending the call, Tristan went to Sophie. Dad was calling to ask about how we're doing over here. As everyone knew how dangerous Fandar was, they felt very worried. Yeah, I know. Actually, it feels nice to be cared for. Sophie smiled. In the past, she had always been a loner without anyone caring for her. It felt very comforting to have someone show so much concern for her now. All right. Let's sleep for a while. I'm tired too. Tristan carried her. After tiring themselves out for so long, it was time for them to have a good sleep on the bed.
Thank you for listening. If you have enjoyed this story, please like and share so others can see it too. Also hit the subscription button and notification bell so you can be notified on our next release. Thank you for your support. God bless you.